The sponsor of my stream and podcast is DistroKid. If you want 10% off on your first subscription with DistroKid, release your music to the world on every major music platform. Make sure to go to my website, andrewvanzark.com, and click on the discount link under the tab of DistroKid.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Welcome to Star Wars Chatter, hosted by Andrew Van Zark. Now you're listening with power. Hello and welcome to the Star Wars Chatter. I'm Andrew Van Zark, and this is your safe space to discuss Star Wars and music. So, today we're going to recap and talk about the Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 5. So let's get it running. Now, let's get started with that recap and review and my thoughts on Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 5. And we're also going to have some readings from an article by Meg Dowell. So let's combine my ideas with her ideas and let's see what is running up and what's going and what's cooking. So Clone Force 99 is between missions, which means Omega and Wrecker are free to roam the local junkyard for potential treasures. Returning with their findings, mysterious archaeologist and storyteller Fee isn't too impressed. That is, until she uncovers an artifact that could lead to something huge. It was a compass that Omega had found in the junkyards that had the planet coordinates on it, and Fee convinced the Bad Batch to tag along. Once they arrived uncharted worlds, they quickly realized the compass is leading them to an inside of an Asian tomb. The tomb is filled with traps and puzzles and vicious creatures that want to kill them. And it was quite interesting the way that Omega finds out how things work and how does the compass work, what are the puzzle pieces to connect and whatnot. So everything is fine, really, nothing to worry about. But after being separated and navigating many deadly traps, the group reaches treasure Fee promised they would find. So something called the Heart of the Mountain, as soon as Fee grabs the treasure. However, the tomb comes alive, and things start to get crazy and really out of hand, you know? So, no. I mean, it actually comes alive and starts firing an energy blast out of it from its face. Come on, that's crazy. It's more or less like an AT-AT walker machine thing mixed with a Death Star blaster thing. It was kind of interesting to look at, you know? So, listen, this is Star Wars, where things don't have to make sense, yet they can still be very cool at the same time. They figure out that if they don't put the heart back where they found it, that Tom is going to destroy their ship, and they'll be trapped here forever. And we don't want the Bad Batch to be stuck there forever, you know? It'll be quite devastating and stressful. They will have to, signal out someone to go pick them up. But then again, who could that be? You know, the Bad Batch usually work alone, even though they have Sid that give them the missions, but they still work alone. No one's gonna come to help. Maybe Cody could come in randomly out of a signal. I don't know, because, you know, at this point, we don't know what Cody is doing, what Cody is up to, you know? That's something that I would love to know, what Cody is up to, you know? So, what do? The Tom and the Heart are no more, and neither is Fee's droid. R.I.P. Rip. Rest in peace. But everyone has emerged from the ordeal unharmed. The group boards the ship and leaves the planet behind. The heart of the mountain's gone, and its thread presumably gone with it. The team may not have proof of what they found, but at least they'll all have a great story to tell. You know, I wonder what's going to happen on the next episode after they get told what to do next, what's the next mission, how does this tie into the next mission, you know, because it's been quite a bumpy ride on these last two episodes. They feel sort of filler-ish, but they're not entirely filler-ish. I guess the one that we're riot racing, it's more filler than anything else because it doesn't really play a part in the story. But hear me out, hear me out. There is still people that enjoy fillers, you know. So why not? I had a blast watching that riot racing. And this one was really a thrill to look at and to watch and experience. At first it was a little slow and you were like, what's happening? What is this? What's all this all about? And then once they find out and figure out what was all about, it's when things get crazy. Things get all wacky, you know? And that scene where Fee is trying to save the gem really reminded me of Omega when she was trying to save all the silver and all the cargo from the other planet that they were visiting, you know? It's a similar scene. And I was like the whole way through, come on, Fee, let it go, let the gem go. Are you gonna really risk your life? Because she was at one point dangling off an edge from a string with the gem. And you're really going to risk your life for a gem that could probably be really extremely valuable? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. I don't think that's how you should be working. Sure, you liberate treasures and you bring them to the public. But why would you want to do that in this case? You know, you're almost about to die. We don't want you to die, no. Because even though you are a random point of the story, and the Bad Batch doesn't really like you, in a way, you shouldn't leave yourself to die just because you want a valuable, unexplored, unseen gem. Sure, it could make you a millionaire, but is it worth it? Is it worth ruining your life for a miserable, valuable gem? I don't think so. Not, at least in my case, I would have not risked my life for a gem. And for what? You know? What if she thinks it's really valuable and at the end of the day it's not valuable whatsoever? It's just your typical gem that was unexplored and that had its value on its time, but now it's decreased, you know? It's like when you look at that funny episode of the South Park series where Stan starts to check around what his grandpa gave him, a cowboy necklace, and ends up being a fraud, you know? And it looked like something that was really valuable, and Grandpa actually paid quite a load of bucks, you know, quite a hunk of money. But in reality, he paid for a fake, or something that was not worth it. But we don't know here in Star Wars how that gem plays a part, what would have cost it, what would have played a part in the story. But at least they did explore a place that was unexplored, that was left from many centuries ago. And they did had a nice mission to go on. You know, the Bad Batch are always up for missions, whether they are simple or whether they are crazy. And the funny thing about the Bad Batch is that they can control themselves. Like, it's like a meme I uploaded earlier today, that the Bad Batch are always meant to be stealthy on their missions and not cause any mayhem. But they always end up blasting something, and they always end up ruining something. Just like how you see in this episode. They grab the gem, and things go haywire. It's inevitable, you know. It's part of what the Bad Batch do. They just get the results done. Doesn't matter how or why, but they get their results done. And that's all that matters with the Bad Batch. That's why Sid is always giving them missions, commissions. Always. Go. Do this. Do that. Do this other thing. Because no matter how bad they end up in, no matter how convoluted the situation might be, how much of a pickle it is, they always end up doing what they have to do and getting the results as we're told. And that is something I love about the Bad Batch, you know? And like I always say, Omega always gives the voice of the reason, and we always have this thing that Omega always knows what she's doing, you know? If it weren't for Omega, I'm pretty sure the Bad Batch would have not gone to that unexplored planet. And I love the character of Omega. Omega has grown to me really, really deeply, and I think I'm gonna love her growth and her journey from this point on. I wasn't really that into Omega back in season 1, but they don't make Omega that important in season 1 in a way, other than the story that she is part of the clones and she's one of the Clone Force 99 in a way, and whatnot, that's the only important thing you must know in Season 1 about Omega, in my opinion. There's a lot of things that are interesting from Omega in Season 1, don't get me wrong, but in Season 2 is where they make her, like, really the center of attraction, because back then you were more into, like, Echo, maybe Hunter, or maybe Tech, or something like that, but in my case, I was really into Wrecker. Wrecker's one of my favorite from Season 1. He still is part there on my favorites of the Bad Batch, but that doesn't mean that I'm growing really into Omega. And I like how they're progressing her story, how she's growing, and I really like the gap that she was a kid looking kind of character back in Season 1, and here she's more like a preteen, and I like that. I like her growth. I like where she's at right now. I like how she works with her weapon. I like how she contributes to the team, and honestly, I'm gonna repeat it again. If it weren't for Omega, they wouldn't have done half of the things they're doing on Season 2. It's interesting how she is the youngest one of them all, in a way, because clones are clones. And they're always following whatever Omega says, even though Hunter is the main attraction and the main head of the team. So it's a really interesting thing how they've made her more of the lead role in a way. Not literally lead role, but you know what I mean, like the one they're actually like listening to, like, you know what, if Omega is saying this, then why not? Why are we not doing this? Why aren't we not following what she's saying? And it's a clear example in episode 5. It's a clear example of that, because like I said, that area would not been explored if it weren't for Omega saying, come on, let's do it. There could be a good treasure. And then Fee says, I could split it 50-50, But in the end, when the episode ends, no one got anything. Things got convoluted. And I wouldn't know if it was a waste of a time, but it sure was a heck of a time. It was fun to watch, fun to explore. And I would love to see the Bad Batch go into more details into those unexplored places. If they continue through that route, it will make the series a bit more interesting, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. That's just the way I think, the way I'm foreseeing things. Because we've seen enough of those common planets in Star Wars. Why can't we start going like how they're going to do in Skeleton Crew? And they're going to explore the Waltz galaxies and all that kind of stuff, The Wild Galaxies, it's an unexplored area of Star Wars, and when I say unexplored, is that it hasn't been shown that much on live action, and it should be shown in live action as much as possible, because it has a lot of books, fan-made stories, and comics exploring the Wild Galaxy many times, but we don't see that quite often on live action. I don't know if we've seen it in live action as we should, I think it's only been mentioned or something. I'm not really sure right now, but you know what I mean, like those places that are not commonly explored, that only the true fans know about those places, they should be shown on live action at least once, once in a while. And I love those ideas that they're throwing out there, and the way that the show is progressing. It's a really good one, And I can't wait to explore more on this, So there's always good things to explore and more things to acknowledge from the Bad Batch, And we haven't seen anything compared to the rest of Star Wars with the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch is still going, and it's gonna go strong, It's gonna go strong, And reading here another article, and quoting here, the gorgeous visuals and tantalizing Easter eggs were enough to keep this one from being a total loss. Let's just hope next week's episode brings us back to the Bad Batch's much more enjoyable shenanigans or missions, Sure, these are weird ones, maybe like fillers and shit, but I still think that they have a right to be there. They are playing a part in the series, Whether they're building up story or whether they're building character, it doesn't matter. It's giving us something to explore, something to acknowledge, something to enjoy, So if we haven't enjoyed much of Bad Batch, I'm pretty sure for those of you that are like, at this point, this is going to get better. Trust me. It always does. Star Wars at some point gets better, whether it is at the end, whether it is at the middle, but it always gets better. And there are some Star Wars shows that start great, end great, and progress great, like Clone Wars. Clone Wars is a good example that it's always been great. Well, I'll back that up. I'm backing up. That 2008 Clone Wars thing was alright. It was not the best. It was alright. But I'm more focusing here on my line of thought with the TV show, not the films. TV show. Because we all know some of the films are alright. They're fairly alright. They're not the best. They could be better. They do have their good points. They do have their greatness in them. But it is what it is, you know. We can't deny that. As much as a fan I am, as much of a fan you might be, there's no way you're gonna deny that some of the films do have their flaws and their loopholes and things that don't make you go back to them as often as you would with the original trilogy, with prequels, with some of the TV shows like Rebels, Clone Wars, Bad Batch in this case. There's so many good Lego films out there, and Lego series, like the Freemancer stories. Those are great. The Droid Tales are also great. So, and Tales of the Jedi is another great animated series, if you ask me. You know, Star Wars never fails to impress me in the animation section. It never fails to impress me in that regards. For some reason, they do great with animation. Like, their stories are great, everything is good, everything flows, everything just feels great, you know? And I hope Star Wars continues doing more animated stuff, because it's by far my favorite era of Star Wars. And video game also, it's also another of my favorites, you know, because I loved Force Unleashed, I like Shadows of the Empire, I like Battlefront games, Lego Star Wars. The video games are also really good. They don't seem to fail. You know, Fallen Order is another good one. And I used to play a lot of pod racer games on the computer. One that was like a tycoon game where you would like build your own racer tracks, and then you would click enter, and then you would see tiny little figurines of the pod racers like Anakin and so on and so forth going throughout. Like, it would look like visually like a Hot Wheels kind of video game thing. Like, you were like building tracks in a Hot Wheel kind of track, and then from there you click enter, and then the pods would like move around really fast, and it was cool. It was a way to explore your creativity on what will your tracks be if you could build a pod racing track, you know. So it was a fun game, you know, and I think that video games with Star Wars are really good, and video games and animation never fail. Comics also never fail. It's the films where they sometimes lack, because the problem is, and hear me out, a film only has 2 hours, 1 hour, maybe 3 hours. And if you want to stretch it like the Snyderverse, 4 hours of a film. And on that point, and on that note, there's so much you can do. Sure, you can tell the story well, because if you see the fan edit of Obi-Wan, sure, we do have a great edit in 2 hours and 50 minutes of the Obi-Wan series, and it's way better than what the actual series did. But still, most of the time, films lack on time. You know, when you're doing a TV show or an audiobook or something along those lines, you have episodic moments. You have times to stretch out the story, do more and more and more, so that people can have a better understanding of the story, a better build-up. But in a film, you got your constraints, you gotta live with them, and you gotta move on. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And it's all a matter of how creative you can be with the story in a short amount of time. And that's really difficult, if you ask me. Extremely difficult. I wouldn't want to be in those shoes in some point. Even though I do have that problem here in my radio show sometimes, because I do have to, like, constrain in less than an hour all my thoughts, and sometimes I want to just continue talking and talking and talking. So when I do my radio show live on air on the AMP radio app, I end up going almost 3 hours sometimes, because I always want to be talking and showcasing music that could correlate with Star Wars and doing all that kind of stuff, you know? So yeah, but anyways, going back to the Bad Batch, it's a great episode. I love the heist and the stuff they were doing to acquire that gem. How things went haywire after grabbing that gem, and yeah, that cave looked really interesting. The way that Omega understood the compass, great way of exploring, and yeah, I think that the way that the cave wasn't really just a cave, it was just a place hiding a big machine that could walk, like a tank kind of machine thing. And it was a mass weapon, mass destruction weapon. And I think that is more interesting than just, oh, I found a gem, let's go back and explore and make some tests on the gem. That is a greater story, in my opinion, than just being all about the gem. So, those are my thoughts and my opinions on the latest episode of The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 5. Hope you have enjoyed it. Hope you have had a great time listening to my blabber. And yeah, I'm Andrew Van Zark, and this is Star Wars Chatter, your safe space with Star Wars and music and geeky topics, like video games, comics, and manga. So, don't be afraid to follow me on every major music platform to catch my music, and also follow me on every social network as Andrew Van Zark to catch my latest updates. So I'll catch you on the flip side. Adios, amigos. May the force be with you, and let's roll that outro.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
This was Star Wars Chatter, your safe space with Star Wars, music, video games, and other geeky topics. Listen on AMP, the Amazon Radio app, and get yourself started by listening to my music on every major music platform under Andrew Van Zark. But if you want to have more information, go to my website, www.andrewvanzark.com, where you can find all my social medias, music, and everything else all on one page. Trust in the Force, no lights beating, and buckle up. Now you're listening with power. Power to the music, and may the Force be with you.